Omar Bolden is back to receive the kickoff. Mason Crosby to put it in the air. You don't see many kickoffs run back in Denver. You don't see many around the league, period, even at 5 feet below sea level, New Orleans, and certainly not here at 5,280 feet. Spectacular night, 65 degrees, just a breath of wind, crowd roaring. DeMarcus Ware is healthy again, and off we go from the Mile High City with the expected touchback. Let's take a look at the Broncos offense.
Peyton Manning, University of Tennessee.
Ronnie Hillman, San Diego State.
Demarius Thomas, Georgia Tech.
Emmanuel Sanders, SMU.
Owen Daniels, on Wisconsin.
Virgil Green, Nevada.
Brian Harris, Our Lady, Notre Dame.
Evan Mathis, Bama.
Matt Paradis, Boise State.
Luis Vasquez, Texas Tech.
Michael Schofield, Michigan.
Green Bay won the toss, and they elected to defer, so they want to get their defense on the field. We'll see an immediate look at Manning, who comes up in the pistol. Ronnie Hillman is the running back. And they go to play action on the first play of the game, and a pass is caught up at the 36-yard line by Demarius Thomas. So an immediate first down, tackled by Casey Hayward.
Well, they're going to certainly take their shots here tonight. Casey Hayward, probably the best back here in the coverage secondary for the Green Bay Packers. Looked like he was going deep, cut underneath, and Peyton Manning comes out firing.
Thomas is top receiver, 49 catches this season. Manning again, play fake, steps off the spot, then the pass is incomplete, deflected, intended for Thomas. It'll be second down and 10. Clay Matthews put the heat on. The Broncos, you'll notice, playing in their uniforms in which they won Super Bowl 32.
He told Michelle he's going to get Peyton Manning off the spot, and he did right away. Just that little movement to the left. They think that will be enough to affect Peyton Manning.
That 1997 team being honored here tonight, and in their honor, back to the old unis they go. It's second down and 10, and Manning's going deep. A flag is thrown, and it's incomplete. There's a flag all the way down at the Green Bay 38-yard line. Thomas going down the sideline with Casey Hayward, and the penalty will be against Green Bay. John Parry is our referee.
Casey Hayward got really aggressive, didn't back up at all as Demarius Thomas came flying up at him and really had no choice but to hit him late.
There's 2 fouls in the play. They'll offset. Pass interference defense, number 29. Illegal use of hands. Hands to the face defense, offense, number 68. Offset, second down.
And that's Ryan Harris, the left tackle. Here's Casey Hayward on the replay.
Demarius Thomas was gaining fast on him and was going to go right by him, and Hayward knew it, and so he just went ahead and took the call. And then Ryan Harris on the other side with a costly hands to the face.
Second down and 10. Manning, and we'll detail it later, has spent almost all of his time in the past few weeks out of the pistol or shotgun. Pistol here, hand the ball off to Ronnie Hillman. And Hillman, who's been playing very well of late and for the moment has supplanted C.J. Anderson as their #1 back, gets about a yard. So Manning, with a win tonight, would tie Brett Favre at 186 for the most career wins as a starting quarterback in the National Football League. And speaking of Favre and Green Bay here tonight, we're going to see Brett's number retired on Thanksgiving night on a game you'll see on NBC in Green Bay. Third and 10.
Here's where Dom Capers gets a chance to bring some heat. They will have something exotic coming at Peyton Manning here.
And Peyton throws, and then the pass to Benny Fowler. Couple of yards shy of the first down. So they pick up an immediate first on the pass to Thomas. And then the pass here is good for 6, but they're forced to punt.
Watch Julius Peppers. Here's the leading sacker for the Green Bay Packers. And he goes right through Evan Mathis, who has been one of the best guards in football over the past 3 or 4 years.
And that was Joe Thomas, who went in low on Manning as he released. Britton Colquitt to punt. Micah Hyde sets up at his own 10-yard line for Green Bay. Hyde at the 15-yard line. And he brings it back to the 23. A couple of minutes into the game, Rodgers and company taking over when we come back to Denver. Packers now run their first play from their own 23-yard line. Toss back to Eddie Lacy. And Lacy chugs his way for a gain of 3 out to the 26-yard line. Aaron Rodgers, fewest passes to 30,000 yards. He accomplished that against San Diego before the bye week. Got there in 3,652 heaves. And he's just at the top of his game. I mean, most people feel at this point he is the best, with all due respect to Mr. Brady, who's only been doing it for about 100 years, and all of the rest. Inside handoff, and breaking free is Lacy, who's had a gimpy ankle but shows no ill effects there. TJ Ward spills him, first down.
Well, 2 outstanding guards for the Green Bay Packers, and here is one of those guys, Josh, sitting right here, going to open that hole up right up the middle, and that's a good sign for the Packers. Eddie Lacy has not been doing much the last couple of games.
Off the fake. Rodgers, and they can't get him down. He's so good at extending plays. Danny Trevathan put the heat on that time. Let's take a look at the Green Bay offense.
Aaron Rodgers, Butte Community College.
Eddie Lacy, Alabama.
Randall Cobb, Kentucky.
Devontae Adams, Fresno State.
James Jones, San Jose State.
Richard Rogers, Cal Berkeley.
David Bakhtiari, University of Colorado, Boulder.
Josh Sitton, Central Florida.
Corey Lindsley, The Ohio State.
TJ Lang, Birmingham Brother Rice.
Brian Balaga, Iowa.
They're very happy to have Devontae Adams, number 17, back. He could be a game changer. He's missed the last few games with an ankle injury. Rodgers, pocket collapsing, steps up. After stepping back, gets away, flag thrown, incomplete. Intended for Richard Rodgers. Rodgers so great at extending plays, done it his whole career. That was a 2nd and 10. We'll get the call here from Parry. Flag is on the near side of the field.
Holding, defense, number 25, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That was Chris Harris totally away from the play.
Chris Harris can't believe it. But that's exactly what happens when Aaron Rodgers can buy time like that. There's the matchup with Chris Harris and Randall Cobb. They practiced all week long, covering initially. Wow, that wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah. And about 50 yards away from the play. James Starks is now the running back. He's had a couple of big days recently, and Starks gets stuff at the line of scrimmage, 2nd down.
I'll tell you, this young man, Shaquille Barrett, is making a name for himself. He got a chance to start in their last outing against Cleveland and led the team in tackles, had 1.5 sacks, a tackle for loss. He had fumbles and forced fumbles, and he's come out of nowhere. 3.5 sacks this year, and for all the attention Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware get, he has been playing just as well.
Doesn't it seem like we have a Shaq or a Shaquille in a game every week?
There's a few of them around.
Shaq Mason. Tonight Barrett. 2nd down and 10. Play clock at 1. Quick flip into the slot, and Randall Cobb is smothered. Taken down by McRae as we take a look at the Broncos defense.
Derek Wolfe, Cincinnati.
Sylvester Williams, North Carolina.
Malik Jackson, Tennessee.
Vaughn Miller, Texas A&M.
Brandon Marshall, Nevada.
Danny Trevathan, Kentucky.
DeMarcus Ware, Troy.
Akeem Talib, Kansas.
TJ Ward, Oregon.
Darian Stewart, South Carolina.
Chris Harris Jr., Kansas J.
Great corners in Harris and in Talib. Of course, you know about Miller and Ware. Stars across the board, and now you've got a false start on Green Bay.
False start, offense, number 82, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Richard Rodgers, the tight end.
Well, we all know what Aaron Rodgers does when he can get a team to jump off sides. It's 3rd and 13 in that case. He went with the hard count, trying to get him to jump, get the free play so he could throw something down the field, and instead his tight end jumped.
3rd and 17. Crowd in full throat as Rodgers from deep in the pocket throws incomplete. That was James Jones, the intended receiver. He looks around for a flag. Rodgers goes to the turf again, 2nd time. Roby covering on the play, 4th down.
DeMarcus Ware now coming off the edge, and they will help tonight with their backs as best they can. Ware went decided he wanted no part of that chip. Goes right through, and you could see Aaron Rodgers wincing a bit after that one.
Yeah, that was the full takedown. Tim Mastay to do the punting. Emmanuel Sanders to run it back for Denver, setting up at his 15. And Mastay gets it away into the high air. Sanders not calling for the fair catch, and they take him down immediately. Quentin Rollins takes him down. Rodgers took a couple of hits on that series. No score with 9:36 to go in the first. The Broncos have an evolving offense. As you can see in weeks 1 and 2, Peyton was under center a lot, which is the way Gary Kubiak has coached through the years at Houston and at Baltimore last year. And then since then, as you can see, rarely under center. The pistol is the short shotgun, so he's been taking almost every snap from the pistol or the shotgun.
It's like there's been a settlement, you know. Instead of either shotgun or under center, they've sort of settled on this pistol, and that's really been to the advantage of Ronnie Hillman because his speed fits this style much better.
So they start from the 17. 9.5 to go in the opening quarter. Each team has had the ball once. And the second Bronco drive begins with Hillman around the corner, and the speedy one out of San Diego State has a first down to the 34-yard line. Hayward makes the tackle. Gain of 17.
Well, when you go to the pistol in these stretch plays, it takes a little bit of time. So instead of Peyton Manning being underneath the center and the mesh point where the handoff would take place being at about 3 yards, it's at about 6 yards. So then if you don't have somebody like Ronnie Hillman with the speed to get to the edge to make that play work, the timing falls completely off.
From the 33, Hillman now. Short game. Chris, you know, it's funny because we talked to so many running backs. You know, a lot was made about DeMarco Murray, who we saw last week in Philadelphia. You know, would he rather take the handoff from this quarterback who's under center or shotgun, you know, or pistol? But, you know, he was pretty diplomatic about it.
Yeah, everybody likes to keep their bosses happy, including us. So, but this is an offense that you wonder where it's going to be, right? Where is it? Not where is it now? This team's undefeated. Where is it going to be come playoff time, and can they grow into this?
Long way to go. C.J. Anderson is now the back. They fake it to him. Manning rolling and throwing on the run and puts it right on the money to Virgil Green, his tight end, for a first down.
All right, so here's the compromise in favor of Gary Kubiak. This is what he does. Run the stretch, now bootleg out of it. Nobody thinks Peyton Manning can run the bootleg, right? He's 39 years old, he's too old, he's too this, he's too that. Well, he's getting better at it.
Yeah. Starts 3 of his first 4 for 34 yards. Rodgers moving his neck around, took a couple of shots on that first series, and C.J. Anderson now spins away from a tackle, and Anderson picks up 9. So C.J., who had been the starter, and then Hillman comes in because he's played well of late, and C.J.'s had problems, and C.J. says, I want my starting role back.
Yeah, and C.J. Anderson was sort of the fantasy football darling at the beginning of this season. At the last 8 games a season ago, he ran for 767 yards and 8 touchdowns. And everybody, oh, I got to get this guy on my team. And now he's come out so far this year, 2.7 yards per carry.
2nd and 1. Anderson again. Anderson around the corner. Good gain here. And Anderson, his knee went down. They stop it there. Nate Palmer made the tackle. Let's take a look at the Packer defense.
Julius Peppers, North Carolina.
B.J. Raji, Boston College. Mike Daniels, Iowa.
Mike Neal, Purdue University.
Clay Matthews, USC.
Nate Palmer, Illinois State University.
Casey Hayward, Vanderbilt.
Morgan Burnett, Georgia Tech.
Clint Dix, the University of Alabama.
Sam Shield, the U.
Demarius Randall, Arizona State.
Burnett back in the lineup. He's missed several games. Wide open over the middle. Demaryius Thomas. And he'll set up a first down and goal. 31 yards, Manning to Thomas.
So think what Casey Hayward has seen. There's Casey Hayward. He has seen an in cut, a deep route, and then another in cut. So they're working 2 routes only against Casey Hayward, and it is working perfectly. Great protection up front, This is a good pass rushing team for the Green Bay Packers as well. One guy to watch, Mike Daniels, number 76 inside. Tremendous.
Meanwhile, Sam Shields, the great corner, goes out. He limped off for the moment. Demarius Randall, a rookie, comes in. And you better believe Peyton knows that, as Ronnie Hillman gets taken down at the line of scrimmage, 2nd and goal.
Well, this is an offense that so desperately needs a touchdown early. This is a perfect night for football, Al, right? You can't get better than this. There are no excuses tonight. If they don't throw the ball well, if they don't move it, if they don't score points, no excuses. They've been kicking a lot of field goals lately. They cannot have too many more.
And working on Shields. Meanwhile, the Broncos have not scored a first-quarter touchdown this season. I was going to say until now, but not quite yet. Demarius Thomas takes it to the 1-yard line, and that's Randall who's taking the place of Shields. Randall was their #1 draft choice rookie out of Arizona State. 3rd and goal.
Well, they are young in this secondary. Nice job there just keeping Demarius Thomas out of the end zone. But this is what we've been used to seeing. You know, when they had Julius Thomas, they were so dangerous down here. A little less so lately.
Matthews helping to pull him away from the goal line. Whoa. And now through the middle. Hillman, touchdown Denver. So it takes 7 games before the Broncos score a first-quarter touchdown. And they do it on an 83-yard drive. 9 plays, 6 runs, 3 passes.
All right, you're going to get the trap play going here and back down inside and barely stick that thing in. But that was almost a fumbled exchange on that one. That came very, very close.
Ferentz made a good block on Raji, the nose tackle, right through the middle, helping to pave that way. Brandon McManus, meanwhile, as they check all scoring plays, just waiting for the confirmation. McManus, who was the AFC Special Teams Player of the Month for October. That's good and bad. If you're the Broncos, it means you're very proficient, but you're not scoring a lot of touchdowns. You're getting a lot of field goals. But here is the extra point. Terrell Davis in the house, one of the great Broncos. He's watched his team take a 7-0 lead at home. Well, first-quarter points through week 7, the Packers with 66, most in the league. The Broncos in the first quarter in their first 6 games, zilch. Nothing, nada.
Now there's a reason for it. This team is tremendous pass rushers on the outside, good coverage linebackers, and maybe the best secondary in football. 3 guys went to the Pro Bowl. Chris Harris, Aqib Talib have combined for 3 pick-sixes on the year. T.J. Ward, a hard-hitting safety. Bradley Roby, a first-round draft pick. They play man coverage and dare you to throw the football against them.
You have Cobb lining up in the backfield next to Rodgers, who looks that way. He had 3 receivers, and he hits Cobb on the run out to the 25-yard line. Chris Harris makes the tackle. Meanwhile, that touchdown by Denver was the first-quarter touchdown allowed by the Packers since last season. Late last season. Mike McCarthy, no longer the play caller. He called the plays his first 9 years, but he handed that duty over to the offensive coordinator, Tom Clements. 2nd and 3. Randall Cobb is now the back. Starks went off when they had his ankle wrapped after the first couple of carries. Then it was Starks. Here's the play fake, and Rodgers almost gets hit from behind and does, but after he releases to Richard Rodgers enough for a first down. That was T.J. Ward, who swung around from his safety spot to put the heat on Aaron.
Well, you're going to see some pressure from different parts of this defense. They are not afraid. When you have the ability to play man coverage the way that this team does, and you take out the fact that Jordy Nelson, the big play threat, is no longer there for the Green Bay Packers, Wade Phillips is going to be confident to come after Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Wade Phillips been around. He was the head coach here in '93 and '94, and that's a pass for a gain of about 5 yards taken in by Justin Perillo, second-year wideout out of the University of Maine. 2nd down and 5.
Now Brandon Marshall, Danny Trevathan, both guys inside that they're very comfortable covering backs and tight ends out of the backfield. So it's really kind of hard to figure out, okay, they're playing man coverage. Where do you want to attack? There's not a glaring weakness.
2nd and 4. And Rodgers, it's one-handed by Cobb, but he'll go nowhere. Shoved into his own bench by Brandon Marshall. Randall Cobb. He holds the distinction of being the first ever guy born in the 90s to play in the National Football League. Boy, did he break in with a flourish. As a rookie in his first game, he ran a kickoff back for 108 yards for a touchdown. Got to his first Pro Bowl after last season. They move around in the slot outside, and right now you're seeing him out of the backfield.
Yeah, and he's going to be matched up on Chris Harris, who may be the best slot corner in the NFL.
Now you got Lacey coming back into the game next to Rodgers. And Aaron dancing, darting. Well, he's so good at this. So good, but the pass is incomplete. That secondary is also pretty good to take that much time to cover everybody. The best play extender we've seen in a long time, number 12.
They're going to spy Aaron Rodgers here. They're just going to make sure that he does not bounce out of there. As long as he is in that pocket, as magical as he is, they feel like they can cover these receivers down the field. And they did a nice job there. A lot of practice this week on not just the initial coverage, but when he starts to scramble, talking about Aaron Rodgers.
He'd win Dancing with the Stars.
He'd win anything. Won Jeopardy. He wins everything.
Name it. Mastay's kick. And let it bounce. And then fielded on a hop. A flag goes down as Emmanuel Sanders waved everybody off. And then it hopped right into his clutch. But we'll get the call from John Parry.
During the return, holding return team number 36, half the distance to the goal. 1st and 10, timeout.
Yep. He's basically telling the other guys to get away, not a signal for a fair catch. 10-0 or 7-0 Denver in first quarter. Denver, Colorado. First night of November.
Takes more than the hair, man. You better up your game. You want to claim that one.
From the 15-yard line, Broncos begin their 3rd drive. Inside fake, Manning into double coverage and incomplete. Demaryius Thomas, intended receiver. We check in with Michelle.
Well, Packers cornerback Sam Shields went to the locker room questionable with a shoulder injury. We saw the trainers looking at his right AC joint. That's where the collarbone meets the shoulder blade, to give you an idea of what they were looking about. Questionable with a shoulder.
All right, thank you, Michelle. That, of course, would be a big loss. Means we're going to see more until he comes back, if indeed he does, of Demarius Randall, the #1 pick. 2nd and 10. And they have Randall matched up on Demaryius Thomas. And that is caught. Swinging to the outside. Virgil Green. Broncos have not gotten a lot out of their tight ends this season in terms of receiving Green and Owen Daniels, but Green has now caught 2 balls in the first quarter tonight, gain of 19.
One of the things you have to be leery about, these tackles for the Broncos have just basically reshuffled, and Michael Schofield out there against one of the all-time great pass rushers, and Julius Peppers. Will keep an eye on that matchup.
The obligatory Omaha. And nowhere to run for Ronnie Hillman as he gets taken down. Julius Peppers still going strong in his 14th season.
Just so much under control. Guy never misses practice. He's just remarkable. He plays the run as well as he does the pass, and sitting out there on the edge. I don't know if there's been many guys like this. There was an article this week talking about how he just never misses practice. He never misses a game. He shows up. Every other veteran player takes Wednesday off, and he just keeps rocking on and making plays, and he still leads them in sacks.
He is unfortunate not to really get hurt during his career. Nothing really significant. Owen Daniels, and Daniels has a first down. So the Broncos talking about we need more from our tight ends. They got it in the first quarter. That's a gain of 16. End of the first quarter with the score Denver 7, Green Bay nothing. And Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages.
Waiting all day for Sunday night.
Back in Denver, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya. Sunday Night Football, battle of the unbeatens. Each squad 6-0. Denver leads 7-0, and they start from the 48, their own, with a first down. Manning, good play action. Boy, he's taking deep shots tonight, and that one's on the money to Thomas. First and goal, got by Hayward again. Demarius Thomas.
Well, that's been the story of the game so far. Everybody wants to talk about Peyton Manning. His arm is shot. He can't make these throws. He's been throwing deep all night long, and he's been throwing to Demarius Thomas. They're back at home, and they are comfortable. Remember, this team has 4 road wins, the Denver Broncos. They've only played here twice, and you can see with the perfect conditions tonight, Peyton Manning, Gary Kubiak, they've been spending a lot of time together this week, and it has paid off.
Yeah, which means of their last 10 games, 6 here, 4 away. First and goal from the 5. Manning rolling left, throwing, touchdown. Flag down. Andre Caldwell makes the catch. So the crowd begins to boo, which means it's going to come back. And you see Caldwell gesturing, and Gary Kubiak will look for another play.
Pass interference. Offense. Number 12. 10-yard penalty. Replay. First down.
I don't think there's a whole lot of doubt about this. Caldwell right there, a big-time shove, seen by the official. And Clay Matthews was not taking the bootleg by Peyton Manning seriously. He was screaming down the line after that run play.
Back to a first and goal now from the 15-yard line.
The Packers, a team not used to playing from behind. They're usually the fast starter.
No, they've led almost every minute of the season, 80% of the time. And breaking free, Ronnie Hillman, and that's a touchdown. So the interference called. They come right back. They call it a run, and it's 15 yards for 6 points.
And just sort of made up. They were going to bring Max Garcia around, and somehow Hillman just gets lost in the crowd. But Al, you have seen it, 200-yard games out of Hillman out of the last 3, and his speed has added that missing explosive element to this offense that we haven't seen. Peyton Manning throwing deep, breaking off runs with Ronnie Hillman. This looks like the old Broncos.
The Broncos that time 85 yards, 6 plays, 2 runs and 4 passes. Manning's on fire. McManus kicks the extra point. At this point in the game, the Denver Broncos have 203 total yards. Green Bay has 30. 14-0 Bronx. They're out to a 14-0 lead as McManus sends this one into the end zone. Abderdaris will down it there. Meanwhile, Peyton seems to set a mark every time he appears. Most team points for a starting quarterback in the history of the league. He just went past Brett Favre, who in his 298 starts accumulated 7,155 points, and Manning now owns that mark. Going over the pictures on the bench with Greg Knapp as the Green Bay Packers take over now at the 20-yard line. Eddie Lacy is the running back. Quick flip to the outside, and it's an 8-yard gain. That's Devontae Adams. We talked about him earlier, missing the last 3 or 4 games with an ankle injury, but he is back.
Yeah, and here's the guy they have to get going, because much like the Denver Broncos have been predominantly 2 receivers catching the ball, Devontae Adams is a guy that has the magic. He has the 42-inch vertical jump. He has some of the elite quickness that you just saw trying to escape. He is a big play waiting to happen that has not been a part of this offense since Jordy Nelson went out.
2nd and 2, and Lacy will get bunched up and stopped at the line of scrimmage, so it'll be 3rd down and 2. Packers need a first down. Their defense has spent a lot of time on the field last 2 drives.
Yeah, this is an underrated defensive line, in my opinion. Got some of these big guys in here. There's Sylvester Williams just clogging everything up. The interior run blocking of the Green Bay Packers is excellent, but Williams did not give an inch there.
3rd and 2. Play clock down to 3. Lacy again. And Lacy is going to get stopped shy of the first down. So that Bronco defense, after the long drive by the offense with a 3 and out, compelling that Packer defense at 5,280 feet to come back on the field.
I tell you, it has been a little bit emotional when you saw Peyton Manning go over and first meet Gary Kubiak on the sideline. These guys have been under siege in this town. You guys destroyed our offense. What's happened? Where's it been? Seems like everybody in Denver is breathing again.
How about around the country?
Yeah.
Mastey's punt is taken by Sanders as he goes out of bounds at the 23. And Manning coming back when we come back. We're with Peyton Manning on Friday in a meeting, so we asked him to have pretty much an out-of-body experience and said, all right, if you were an analyst on a show and somebody said, how's Peyton Manning doing this year? He goes into the 3rd person. I think he's doing well considering all that's been thrown at him this year with the change in the injuries. It's been an adjustment, and I think he sort of expected this in some way. If I know him like I think I do, he's had a really good attitude about it.
This thing belonged on Saturday Night Live. He backed up into character. It was unbelievably funny.
Flag before the snap. But it was great because it was
start. Offense, number 10. 5-yard penalty, replay, first down.
Yeah, and, and he covered a lot of ground, too. And I thought he was really honest about it. And talking about himself, he said, are you as comfortable with new pass plays as you are with ones that you've run for 18 years? He said, no, you're not. That doesn't mean that I can't make this work. We're creating that sort of hybrid mix of a new plays with old plays. And I would say that he's working hard to get as comfortable as he can on the new plays, and he's determined and committed to doing it. So he is convinced they are going to get there, wherever there is with this offense.
1st and 15, and there is pretty good tonight. That's another first down. That's Owen Daniels. There's a little bit of self-therapy. We only charged him, what, $200 for the hour?
Yeah. Or 1 round of golf, whichever came first. And maybe the best news of the night, other than Peyton Manning throwing this ball deep to Demaryius Thomas, is the involvement of these tight ends, because the tight end production has been very low without Julius Thomas. Just 17 for 123 combined coming into this game. Only 2 teams were lower than that, and that was the Jets and the Texans.
Tonight they've caught 4 balls already early in the 2nd quarter. This is C.J. Anderson to the 43-yard line. A lot of people think, well, he doesn't look the same. He's inaccurate. His arm is weak and all of that. He had a great line. He said, I think sometimes indecision can lead to inaccuracy. There's been no indecision tonight.
Well, now, think about where he's been. He's essentially run the same offense forever, right? It was in Indy, and then when he came here, they just sort of said, here, you just put in the offense, and Adam Gase and the guys will figure out, and we'll all play along with you. But now John Elway said, no, I won 2 Super Bowls at the end of my career because we started leaning on the running game. I want to do that again, and that's what they're trying to get to.
And hello, Terrell Davis for Elway. And that pass is incomplete. Sanders wants a flag, covered by Hayward, and there is no laundry on the field. 3rd and 2.
Well, the big issue is, can somebody other than Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders make plays in this offense. And Owen Daniels has given a little bit here tonight, but John Elway sure would love to see a third wideout, and they're hoping this Benny Fowler, number 16, can evolve into that next guy. They just haven't had that other threat yet at receiver.
Play clock at 1. Manning gets the snap and hands the ball off to Anderson. Springs free into Packer territory all the way to the 38-yard line against a defense that came into the league allowing the fewest points in the league.
There's some of that one-step cuts that we talk about. Watch him putting a foot in the ground right there. Zip inside and make that kind of big run. He had not had, I don't think, a 21 or 20-yard run all season, and here he goes. I think it was close to 20.
Right. Well, actually, his longest run of the season was 14 coming into the game. That's 19 right there.
He still doesn't have it.
There you go. By a scintilla. Hillman is back in the game. And Ronnie Hillman stretching it to the outside. Around the corner he goes for a gain of about 6. We go to Michelle.
Well, Green Bay rookie cornerback Quentin Rollins went back to the x-ray room, questionable with a shoulder. So along with Sam Shields, Green Bay now has 2 of their 5 available cornerbacks questionable, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And there's no question that number 18 is fully aware of that. Dom Capers behind the glare right now. Well, he was the former coach, as was Kubiak, of the Houston Texans, before that Carolina, both as expansion teams, and been here now since 2009 in Green Bay as the defensive coordinator. And then 2nd and 3, trying to cut it back, but no, sir. That was Micah Hyde coming up to make sure he went no farther. It'll be 3rd down and 4.
Yeah, that's the good news for Dom Capers, is that he has a safety in Micah Hyde that also can play that slot corner. So you're going to come in from right over here on this side, jump inside the block of Sanders, and break that thing up. You start getting close to Dom Capers' end zone, you're going to see some stuff.
Now they bring in Dimitri Goodson, another defensive back, number 39. 3rd down and 4.
It won't take Peyton long to find him.
Changing it, play clock again at 1 as he gets the snap just in time. Checks off to a running play, but that didn't work. Ronnie Hillman gets taken down at the line of scrimmage. So the line of scrimmage is the 33. You're looking at about a 51-yard field goal, well within McManus's range.
Well, Clay Matthews is one of the guys. He's the signal caller of this defense. And when Peyton Manning starts all those checkoffs, you better believe this guy's going to have some answer for it. He comes flying in there and breaks it up and really sets it up for Dayton Jones to end up making the tackle. But he's going to draw about 3 blockers with him.
50-yarder for McManus here. At no point this season coming into tonight had Green Bay been behind by 2 possessions. And with that one good, they are now behind by 3 possessions. Halfway through the 2nd quarter, 17-0 Denver. What a night so far here in Denver, 17-0. Peyton Manning has thrown for 170 yards, and Rodgers has been held to 23. And that kick will be a touchback, with Rodgers trying to get something started.
It's hard enough to block the Denver Broncos pass rushers without all the noise, but watch what they have to do. Pretend the quarterback is that line in the middle of your screen. So they're both looking in at the ball to try and figure out exactly when the ball snapped. Then you have to turn and go find DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller on the outside. Not an easy assignment because it is so loud in this stadium. They've had to add that element for the tackles, and you can just imagine trying to turn quickly and find 2 of the best pass rushers in football.
So Green Bay, a team that's run 14 plays for a total of 39 yards from the 20. Rodgers play action, that buys a ton of time, but the secondary does its work. Aaron then takes off, and he'll do it himself for a 14-yard scamper before he steps out of bounds into the Broncos bench.
I don't know why, but Devontae Adams was wide open in the middle of the field. It looked like Aaron Rodgers was looking right at him. You can see right down the middle of the field, and that's where that play was probably designed. They have not spent a lot of time together as a group, and Adams just coming back from injury, but they need a play like that to get him going and to get Rodgers going.
Starks in the backfield. They have a fullback in there as well, Aaron Ripkowski. And Starks behind the fullback. Chugs to the 38. We touched on it before. Green Bay this year rarely trailing. They've led 80% of the time, best in the league in that regard. Trailed only 8%, the least in the league, but trailing now since Denver got on the board 7-0. And as you look at Tom Clements, who calls in the plays, as we said, never trailing by as much as a 2-possession deficit. Tonight, right now, down by 3 possessions at the moment. 2nd and 6 as they spread it out.
Empty backfield, and so that means if Wade Phillips chooses, he can come after Aaron Rodgers here.
And it's dropped. Davante Adams started to look upfield before he could collect it, setting up a 3rd down and 6.
And that's the old Green Bay Packer play there, where they just send their blockers, wide receivers down the field as blockers, and got a shark attack coming this time for Wade Phillips. Fins to the left.
.618 left in the half. Play clock all the way at 3, still moving around, and now they've got to burn a timeout to avoid the delay of game.
30-second timeout.
You know, we haven't hit on it much, but the Packers are the 22nd ranked passing offense. And it just sounds weird. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has the highest quarterback rating after play today in the NFL. And they have been in the top 10 passing for each of the last 11 years. This year ranking 22nd, and that's despite the fact that Aaron Rodgers has only 2 interceptions. It has been brilliant. They just have not been able to put it together.
Well, if you're just tuning in, that was not a typo. Manning having a tremendous night, and Rodgers trying to get it going. Aaron with a 3rd down and 6 is 6 of 10 for 23 yards. Play clock at 2. 1. Just do get that one off. Rodgers escapes for the moment and then is able to have it completed to Richard Rodgers. Nice grab, stayed in bounds. Von Miller was chasing Aaron Rodgers. 1st down.
I tell you, this Von Miller, I think this is him right here. Watch him come looping around here, and he just misses. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is the only guy in the league, or Russell Wilson may have dodged that one as well. But you should have seen them, the Broncos, practice this week, covering for 5, 6, 7 seconds, knowing Aaron Rodgers has that kind of ability.
From the 49. He and Ben Roethlisberger, when he's healthy, about as good as extending plays as anyone. And then a total takedown there by Aqib Talib, who spins Cobb around. Aqib Talib, one of the best in the league and has been for some time. Came over from New England, has run back a couple of touchdowns, a couple of interceptions this season for touchdowns. Had one against Cleveland, had one against Baltimore in the opener.
8 in his career.
Yeah, former Tampa Bay Buck as well as Patriot. And Eddie Lacy able to stay on his feet, but not for long before he is tackled at the 47.
You know, it's really strange to see Eddie Lacy struggling. Here's a guy that's had over 1,100 yards and 35 catches these the last 2 years. And whether it was a sprained ankle he had or what, oh, somebody's down on the field.
Miller. Yeah, that's Von Miller. Hopefully just a cramp. We'll see. Back after this. Von Miller looked like he just cramped up, so he had to come out. 3rd and 6. Shaquille Barrett takes his spot for the moment from the 47-yard line. Here they come, blitzing, put the heat on, incomplete. So much heat was put on. You had David Bruton on the safety blitz. They set the house that time. And you got a flag down.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 30, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So he got there, but illegally.
Well, it's one of the toughest things if you don't rush the passer a lot. You go up and try and bat the ball down, but then your hands and your arms are up around the quarterback's head, and everybody knows that rule by now. Once you get wrapped around there, that's an easy call, and that is a huge call because the Broncos defensively have been playing great. We're going to be off the field, and they blow it.
Back to the 32-yard line. Von Miller is back in the game after those cramps. Little toss goes to Randall Cobb, and Cobb with a nice little move there. He's close to a first down before he was tackled at the 22. TJ Ward couldn't make the stop about after a gain of 4 or so, which turns out to be a gain of 10 and a first down.
Yeah, and Randall Cobb, that's what he did in college. He played almost every position on the field, maybe other than center, and he loves that role. That give me the ball in any way, shape, or form that I can get it, and I'll make some offense happen.
Lacey again, and Lacey with a first down and more, and before they tackled him out of bounds, he has set up a 1st and goal. Gain of 14.
It's kind of nice when you've got a center that can get out around the edge here and make this kind of block on Brandon Marshall. That's really what set that one off.
And then there's a flag in the end zone. There's a flag in the middle of the end zone, and then one on the near side as well on a pass intended for Richard Rodgers. Also a flag back behind the line of scrimmage. So take your pick.
Look like, I don't know what TJ Ward was doing. Like he's trying to call timeout.
Defense, penalties declined. Offside, defense accepted. 5-yard penalty.
I think Ward realized that they had too many men on the field, turned to call timeout, didn't get it called. Lucky didn't give up a touchdown because they threw it right to his guy.
It's going to move it to the 3. Three and a half to go in the first half. This drive began back at the 20, so 8 plays. They've gone 77 so far. Make it 78. 1st and goal. Lacey. And he'll get taken down. That's DeMarcus Ware, who's able to stop him at about the 2.5. 2nd down and goal.
Now they go an unbalanced line, and I don't like that bounce out that time by Lacey. Here's a guy that's 240 plus. They had an unbalanced line that way, so they had plenty of blockers on this side. Watch him bounce this thing out instead of just put his head down and take on Darian Stewart, a safety who he outweighed by about 30 pounds.
2nd and goal. And Lacey.
That's how you're supposed to do it.
The end zone. And now they're going to say the ball came loose, but not until he had crossed the goal line. The touchdown has been signaled for Eddie Lacey. And that personal foul for roughing the passer on Bruton was giant.
Yeah, that time Eddie Lacey said the heck with that. He's going to come shooting right in there and watch him just run over everybody. That was the linebacker Brandon Marshall. He met at about the 1-yard line, and that pile went straight backwards. More of that. Even he, in his self-critique of himself this week, said, I haven't been getting my shoulder pads down low enough. It's not that I'm overweight. It's not the ankle. Just got to get those pads down. That was that.
Only his 2nd touchdown of the season. The first came in the opener against Chicago. So Lacey into the end zone. A much needed Green Bay drive toward the end of the half. And Mason Crosby adds point number 7. 2:58 remaining in the opening half. Battle of the unbeatens. Denver 17, Green Bay 7 on Sunday Night Football. Super Bowl 32 team introduced before the game, and Shanahan got a tremendous ovation. He and Terrell Davis were probably the crowd most vociferous. Peyton Manning, his night.
Well, Mike Shanahan's going to like this one. Peyton Manning has looked aggressive throwing the ball tonight, planting that back foot, driving into some of these throws, but especially on these intermediate and deep routes, we are seeing the arm strength. A lot of arc on that ball. I would say, has that always been there this year? I'm not so sure, but he has been slinging it tonight, and this offense looks good.
His numbers right there. A little less than 3 minutes to play in the opening half. Showing blitz from the outside. Corner blitz coming. Manning gets it away. But right there is Clay Matthews to tell Ronnie Hillman, you ain't going anywhere. Loss of 5.
He's just a better athlete than so many of the people that are playing on the field. You know, he was all-star as a pass rusher on the outside. Their defense was really hurting. They had lost some inside linebackers. They asked him to move in there, and he grumbled a little bit, and I don't think he was too happy about it. But now they have put together this defense because he's not on the edge. You can't chip him and put a tight end over him and all those things. So Dom Capers has him blitzing from everywhere.
2nd and 15, 4-man rush, and into a lot of traffic. He throws it right into the chest of Emmanuel Sanders for a nice gain. Gain of 11, and that'll make it 3rd down and 4.
Big play coming up, though.
It'll come up after the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to go in the first half in Denver, with the Broncos up by 10.
Here comes Casey Hayward on a blitz.
3rd and 4. Manning in the pocket, throw, caught, on the run, 1st down. Owen Daniels tackled there by Micah Hyde. So they came. Manning right over the middle, moves the chains, use some of the clock now too.
Boy, that's some of the routes we used to see from Owen Daniels. Nice chip coming out, and then a very clever little route.
On the 37-yard line. Manning throwing, and that's caught, and that's Benny Fowler taking it to midfield. Benny Fowler out of Michigan State, signed last year as a free agent.
I like him, Al. Very aggressive catcher of the ball. He has gotten open and made plays for Peyton Manning, and I think Peyton Manning is starting to lean his way as that 3rd.
From the 49, Manning to the outside, reaching, flag down, caught. That's Sanders. Manuel looks around and says, come on, call that face mask. Flag is right there.
There's definitely a little pushing and tugging and all sorts of things going on at the top of that route. Which way are they going to call it?
Right in front of the Green Bay bench. John Parry in the white hat, ready to give us the pronouncement.
Holding, defense, penalties decline. Result of the play, 1st down.
That's a 12-yard gain, takes it to the 38.
I think that's Demarius Randall out there on Emmanuel Sanders. So yet another rookie. He gets that arm wrapped around him. So there are rookies everywhere on the outside. Demarius Randall and Dimitri Goodson, who doesn't have any defensive snaps this year, number 39, and under Peyton starting to discover those guys.
Oh, it's a good tackle right there before he can get loose. Number 95, Jones. Dayton Jones makes the tackle. Timeout, Denver. Well, a lot of the Broncos from the Super Bowl team, and you might say teams. You got Tom Jackson right there, and Shannon Sharp. Tom felt it was so important to be here that he's skipping out on ESPN today.
Took, I think, his first night off ever from ESPN.
So John Elway as well. After the timeout now, the pass is to the 34-yard line. Caught there by Virgil Green. Tackled immediately by Hyde. And there's a flag. John Elway, of course,
Holding. Offense, number 73. 10-yard penalty, replay. 1st down.
Max Garcia, Elway running the football operations. He's really done a great job here, no question about it. Of course, he was responsible for bringing in Peyton Manning. They won 4 division titles. They've been to the Super Bowl where they lost to Seattle a couple of years ago. But he just felt, you know, we've had a lot of success, and John Fox was here and he did very, very well. But John felt we just had to get farther along, and he thought Kubiak, who'd backed them up for so many years, would be the guy.
Got the Mr. B pin on there to honor Mr. Bolin.
Going into the ring of fame here as Manning will throw, and it's tipped, and then Sanders can't make the catch. Tipped away, and Manuel went down hard. Tipped away, incomplete, but another flag.
Sanders hurt his shoulder in that last Cleveland game, and he took a big hit at the tail end of that one.
Illegal use of hands to the face. Offense number 73. 10-yard penalty. Replay, second down.
It's back-to-back on Garcia, the rookie from Florida.
Yeah, Max Garcia is a guy that played very well against the run blocking, but now back-to-back in pass protection, he has struggled, and he looked like he struggled in the game against Cleveland as well. As long as he's run blocking, they're fine. Evan Mathis has a pulled hamstring, and they are trying to pace him a little bit. And so Garcia's getting some chances, but he's much better run blocking than pass blocking.
Well, all he was trying to do that time is block Matthews. Now they put Mathis back in the game. And it's another good tackle there up at the 41-yard line by Joe Thomas. So that's going to make it 3rd down and 31.
Check this out. Peyton Manning, if you're going to carry out a play fake, perfectly legal. That is very much allowed. You can turn around and argue all you want. You carry out that play fake, and that is allowed.
And now what Denver's really doing is running out the clock, and Green Bay is going to help them do that by not taking a timeout. So 3rd and 31. It's one of those things where either team, well, Denver wasn't going to take a timeout here, but Green Bay could have. And that pass is swatted away. So now you have 6 seconds. So what Denver has done with effectiveness is not let the ball get back into Rodgers' hands.
Yeah, and that was a big first down that they picked up to Owen Daniels, because basically you had Aaron Rodgers, who had just taken his team down the field and scored the touchdown, and you can see he's frustrated. He thought he was going to get another shot at it. They let him run it down, so he's not even going to get a shot at a field goal here.
Yeah, so it looked like Denver was going to get a shot at worst a field goal, and then Green Bay not even afforded the opportunity. And a timeout here. So it was 17-0, and Denver would have gotten the ball back. This was the 3rd down play. All out blitz. Bruton knocks Rodgers to the ground. That leads to Lacey's touchdown. And instead of a larger lead, in all likelihood, it's going to be a 10-point advantage at the half. And Green Bay will get the ball to start the second half.
Now, this is one of those situations I never paid too much attention to until the Michigan game came around, and I think I'll stay and watch.
I'll give you 600 to 1. Or I'll give you 700.
On a penny.
And Colquitt punting toward the boundary. Fair catch made for it at the 14-yard line, but that sees the clock expire. Packers get the second half kickoff. Packers get the ball to start the half. Second half, McManus to kick off. There's Von Miller. Micah Hyde back to receive. Touchback.
Well, there's no question the difference in this first half has been the play of the cornerbacks and the defensive secondary for the Denver Broncos. They have been in the face of these Packer receivers all night, and they have won the battle. Aqib Talib, Chris Harris, Bradley Roby, winning those one-on-one matchups down the field and giving that pass rush time to unsettle Aaron Rodgers. We will see if Aaron Rodgers has an answer here in the second half. Maybe some pick plays, maybe some things to get these guys a little space away from these cornerbacks.
Rodgers, who normally averages about 8.5 yards a pass, averaging 3 in the first half, and they begin with an Eddie Lacy run that goes nowhere.
Well, Derek Wolf's the one that came down there and ended up making that play. He came back from suspension, and he now is sort of solidified. Maybe the one last piece of the puzzle is, okay, how good of run players are these guys? And I mean, it really is hard. As somebody said, well, how do you beat the Broncos on defense? And I kind of just go, I don't know.
The defense has bailed them out in almost every game this season.
And scored.
Yeah. 4 defensive touchdowns. Rodgers has to get it away so quickly, and the pass incomplete. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, I talked to Gary Kubiak moments ago, and he likes the way his defense is getting pressure on Aaron Rodgers, but he told me, we're not finishing. We haven't been able to bring him down, and he's able to keep those plays alive. So his emphasis to his team at halftime was finish the plays and let's knock off the penalties, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Unfortunately, the one play they did finish was when Bruton came in and knocked him to the turf with a personal foul. 3rd down and 11 now from the 19-yard line.
Boy, 3rd and long, and it is tough to pick up a first down against this defense.
Rodgers. That pass is incomplete, and again, here comes another flag. So Rodgers was jostled again. T.J. Ward, arms outside. Well, not me.
Pass interference, defense, number 43. Automatic first down, spot of the foul.
Down the middle of the field, here's Ward right here, and just going to hit him, and there's no question. There's nothing wrong with being physical within 5 yards, but that one's going to get called. Chris Harris telling us that T.J. Ward, they call him the Tasmanian Devil. They have to literally settle him down. He's such a great player and such a force against the run. Not quite that against the pass.
You saw that graphic. 9 penalties for Denver and 1 for Green Bay, and Denver up by 10. Rodgers will slip it over to Lacy, and Eddie Lacy with some tough running out to the 42. The ball looks like it may have come loose. You got Sylvester Williams in there, but play was over. I think it's 2nd down and 1, gain of 9.
I'm really interested to see this one. Chris Harris going to strip that thing out. It is out.
It's coming out.
See who recovers
who recovers it. Yeah, because
you have to have a clear recovery.
Right. It's no good to challenge something if you don't know that you're going to win it on the other side.
And I think that's going to be the issue. They see it's out.
Right. They know it's out. They could have challenged, but they probably would not have won it because there's no clear view as to whether Denver recovered or not. Meanwhile, Starks proceeds to pick up the first down.
Boy, how good was James Starks in their last outing against San Diego? Ended up with 112 yards rushing, a beautiful 65-yard touchdown. Could we see it here? There he has it pinned against his body, and looks like he did indeed recover that ball.
Yeah, no way that could have been overturned after viewing the replay. Here's Starks again. He's going to cut it back, but he's going to be tackled at the line of scrimmage. Wolf and Barrett are there, 2nd down. Meanwhile, James Jones, who was picked up after the Giants let him go in training camp, and he's been a star so far this season, the once and present Packer. He was with Green Bay for many years before, has no catches tonight.
Yeah, how about that? A guy over 30 years of age that's averaging 20 yards a catch, 7 catches of 25 or more. He has been the deep threat without Jordy Nelson.
They lost Nelson in preseason. Gone for the year. Play clock at 3. 2nd and 10. Blitz again. Pass incomplete. Intended for Richard Rodgers. 3rd down.
You know, Aaron Rodgers is rarely uncomfortable, but this pass rush has been at least this close all night long. And Aaron Rodgers, for all his skills of being able to throw off that back foot, not having to step into those throws, mentally, after a while, it starts to wear on you, especially when your guys are all covered down the field.
3rd and 10. They come again. Compress the pocket, but Rodgers is going to escape and run for a first down and slides to a stop at the 38. So if you want to bring the house, as they do at that time with most of the pressure coming up the middle, if he gets to the outside, forget about it.
James Starks just saved his quarterback. Watch the blitz coming right here, and right at the last second, the Dancing with the Stars guy you talked about, Aaron Rodgers, able to see that dance out of the way and then pick up a big first down.
Sombers his way for a 16-yard gain. to the 39-yard line. Opening drive of the second half.
319!
Starks again. Fights forward, gain of about 5 to the 36-yard line.
And you really have no choice when you play against this Broncos defense. You really have to try and stay with that running game. Now they bring back in James Starks. And talking to Aaron Rodgers about him, he said, hey, he's earned his extra playing time. Came out with a bit of a sore hip after that last game, but they rotate these backs in about every 3 plays, and then whoever has the hot hand, they let them play into the fourth quarter.
That was the 3-yard pickup. Lacey is in there now as the running back. 2nd down and 7.
319!
Lacey. And he gets stood up as he takes the ball inside the 35. And it will be 3rd down and 4 for the Packers.
Now we've seen Eddie Lacy be so great. I've seen him, for a guy his size, a little like Jerome Bettis, you know, the ability to those spin moves and all that. Sprained that ankle in the 2nd game and really just has not quite been the same. He's getting a little better here tonight after struggling in his last 2, but they need him to get hot.
3rd and 4. 5 minutes into the period. Rodgers. Flag. Going deep and too deep, incomplete. Flag normally we're holding is to be called against the offense, and that will be the case. John Parry looking over and asking Kubiak if he wants to decline it, which would make it 4th down and 4.
Holding. Offense number 75. 10-yard penalty replay. 3rd down.
So Gary has chosen to back them up. Otherwise, they would have been able to attempt about a 50-yard field goal. Something that Crosby's done a lot.
One of the problems when you're blocking for Aaron Rodgers is you never know where the heck he is. And Balaga really did a good job on Von Miller there. Had him pinned in, and then as tried to escape, Von Miller did. It's so easy to just grab him and just hook those arms around the outside.
So Kubiak figuring if he takes the penalty and you kick a 50-yard field goal, 3-point game, he's going to gamble that the defense can hold him here on a 3rd and 14. Play clock at 1. And Rodgers will dump it off. This is Starks. And Starks to the 38-yard line, which mean if they want to kick a field goal, it's now about 55, and they will indeed bring Crosby out to attempt it at altitude.
Yeah, a couple of things. You got confidence in your defense if you're Gary Kubiak to make that call, and you have confidence in your field goal kicker and his ability to kick from long range to call a screen pass right there. So we'll see if what pays off where here.
56-yard attempt. His career high is 58. And again, kicking at 5,280 feet is a distinct advantage. Mastay to put it down, and the former Colorado Buffalo played his college football up the road in Boulder, bangs it through with 9:07 to play in the 3rd quarter. Back to a 7-point game. Broncos up 17-10. Touchback. All right, so a 17-0 lead has now become 17-10 as Manning goes back to work when we come back. Updates there. Rushing yards about even. Passing yards significant difference. Time of possession about even as well. But Denver has seen a 17-0 lead go down to 17-10 as they take the ball at the 20-yard line. Ronnie Hillman, the running back. Manning in the pistol. Sliding and throwing, and that's incomplete. And Sanders and the crowd looks around. No flag. Medical update. Here's Michelle.
Well, Green Bay corners Sam Shields and Quentin Rollins have both been ruled out for the remainder of the game. Shoulder injuries to both. Mike McCarthy told me at halftime he thinks his defense was starting to settle down after those injuries in the secondary, but he wants to see his defense tackle better and stop the Broncos running game, Al.
And I think that's going to be, Michelle, a big storyline going down the stretch here, too. C.J. Anderson, there are very few guys who can exploit a couple of injuries in the secondary, better than Peyton Manning. Mike Daniels is there to make the stop. 3rd down and 8.
Here's Mike Daniels here, going to come all the way down. This guy is one tremendous player. If I had to pick one along with Clay Matthews, that would be my guy. I think he plays the run equally well as the pass, gets great pressure, plays with intensity all the time.
So Manning goes empty now on 3rd and 8. That's Thomas over the middle. Demaryius Thomas, who had a hot start and silent for a good part of the rest of the first half. Back in action here, 1st down, gain of 20 yards.
Well, there he is here, and we're right back to it. What's he run tonight, Al? He's run deep, and he's run crossing routes, and it has given the defensive backs a tough time. But Peyton Manning, when he sees rookies on the outside against his veteran guy, he's going to take his shot.
Approaching the halfway mark of the 3rd quarter. The ground again to the outside, and C.J. Anderson will go nowhere as Clay Matthews mirrors him, takes him down for a loss of a couple.
I just think it's so remarkable to see a guy who, to the best of my knowledge, never played inside linebacker. And when he first made that switch, we did the game last year in Green Bay. The instincts weren't really there. Now you watch him on tape, and he looks like a Junior Seau kind of guy, Ray Lewis kind of guy, flying across the line of scrimmage and making plays like that.
2nd and 12. And open over the middle. This time it is Andre Caldwell to the 36 of Green Bay. Randall makes the tackle, so he exploits the middle again. Does Manning, this time a gain of 24.
Yeah, I think these crossing routes are working for a reason. The more inexperience you have on the field, maybe you call a few more zones if you're Dom Capers. And so if you get the pass protection, which is not easy against the Packers, then you can exploit that part of the field.
Meanwhile, there's an injury timeout, and you see why. Matthews goes down, and that's about the last sight anybody in Green Bay ever wants to see. Clay Matthews limping off the field.
Well, and it's deeper than that because he's the signal caller as well, and gets rolled up by his own guy, Demarius Randall, at the end of that. Boy, that is not a good sign, and they are relatively thin. They have young guys backing him up. Jake Ryan, Joe Thomas. There's Joe Thomas in there. There's a guy that was cut by the Packers, went to the Dallas practice squad, and then they brought him back because of the injury to Sam Barrington. So they are thin now.
And Peyton again just working the middle of the field to the 28-yard line. Demaryius Thomas, another grab. That's 6 catches for Thomas tonight for 129 yards as Matthews gets checked out on the sideline.
And I want to give some credit to this remade offensive line. They are down to their 4th tackle playing in this game. The protection the last 2 games has been terrific, as well as the run blocking.
2nd down and 2. And this is Juwan Thompson making his first carry. Hillman went out of the game. They were looking at him. The other back is Anderson. They're looking at Hillman on the sideline. So Thompson, 2nd-year back out of Duke, gets his first grab of the night. There's Ronnie walking it off. And it will be 3rd down and 2.
Well, Mike Neal is one of those guys that he gets a few sacks here and there, but I think his real skill set is playing the run. He can set that edge hard out there. Played that one perfectly.
They got C.J. Anderson back in the backfield with Manning on a 3rd and 2. And timeout is going to be taken here
Timeout Green Bay,
by the
first.
Packers.
30-second timeout.
So 5.5 to play in the 3rd quarter.
Well, Clay Matthews, they're looking at him on the sideline, but through the first 6 games, this guy is simply all over the place. It really doesn't matter. And I think that made Clay Matthews a little crazy in the beginning, but then he started to figure out, even though he's only going to be rushing the passer on 50% of the dropbacks, that he actually is going to benefit from that, and they are allowing him to rush from almost every position. But anytime you get a superstar lying on his back on the table, it's not good.
little friendly fire there from Randall as he went down. So Green Bay took a defensive timeout, and it's 3rd and 2. Big hole for C.J. Anderson. Touchdown. "28 yards. 8 plays, 80 yards, and it takes him a little less than 4 minutes to do it."
Right where Clay Matthews is. Go over here, watch this. You get the block by Mathis down and then up against Joe Thomas. Perfectly done. Veteran guard, great play, huge hole. Taking advantage of Clay Matthews being on the bench.
So Anderson, picked by a lot of fantasy players, finally scores his first touchdown of the season. McManus for the extra point, and with 5:25 to go in the 3rd, it's Denver up by 14 in the Mile High City. Bouncing ball through the end zone. All right, Mr. Rodgers back to work. His team down by 2 touchdowns in Denver.
This is Sunday night.
So 5:25 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Looking down into a ballpark that opened on September the 10th, 2001. The Giants against the Denver Broncos, and we all know what took place the next day. 5:25 left in the 3rd quarter. From the 20-yard line, this drive begins with Rodgers surveying, and then he slings one out, and it's a low throw, and it's incomplete for Lacy. Boy, that secondary of Denver's done a phenomenal job tonight. Rodgers has been able to extend plays, but nothing happening out there. Rodgers 17 passes for 49 yards.
You know, nobody goes through reads faster than Aaron Rodgers, but he has been looking for somebody all night long. I mean, when you look at the leading receiver has 16 yards, you go, well, what happened to Aaron Rodgers? Did he get hurt?
Yeah, and Cobb has 4 catches for 7 yards. 2nd and 10. They bring the house again. Rodgers dances away and then completes it. But right there to make sure he goes no further is one Chris Harris taking down Randall Cobb.
Yeah, and they have consistently brought pressure right up the middle against Aaron Rodgers. So even though it doesn't always get there, you can see he just has nowhere to step up. And of course, he's great moving backwards and sideways. But what you want to do as a quarterback is step up in that pocket and make a throw. Because Wade Phillips has applied consistent pressure inside, he hasn't been able to do it.
3rd and 7 from the 23. Here
it comes again.
And Rodgers too high. That time he had an open man. That was Cobb. He had a flag up at the 36-yard line, some 10 yards beyond the line of scrimmage.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense, number 21. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And in that area, you know what it is. It's Aqib Talib with another flag and another gift for the Packers.
Boy, that was a big miss, though, right there, because Talib falls down trying to hold Cobb, and they missed this, and this one might have gone the distance. I mean, Randall Cobb is good in the open field. Punt returner, kick returner. Would have been a very difficult tackle for T.J. Ward, and he was all that was left.
First down of the 28-yard line, 10 penalties, 88 yards against the team that has a 14-point lead. Rodgers fires, and that is Cobb. And Cobb somehow, some way, able to hold on to it. Trevathan was there. First down.
And Randall Cobb's getting a little fired up. He just gestured over to the bench like, come on, give me the ball some more. I'm going to go beat this guy one-on-one if you'll give me a chance. That is one heck of a catch.
Toss to Lacey. Started inside, goes back outside. Nothing doing. Second down and long.
Well, this team is just so disciplined with how they control those gaps. And there's a guy who knows a little something about discipline. I tell you, it is hard to go through a meeting with him without laughing out loud. You'll see every one of these gaps filled in here by the Broncos, and you think, like, okay, we can get a double team here and we can get a double team there, but these guys very athletic along that front line. And if you don't pick up a good play on first down and you get to second and long, here they come.
Second and 9, clock all the way down again, and does he get the timeout before the delay?
The flag was thrown.
Yeah. He tried to call the timeout. Clock may
have the delay game, timeout, Green Bay.
Prior to, and they take it. So in other words, he has to use another timeout, and in a game in which they're trailing by 14 points, they're down to one timeout with the 18 minutes left in the game.
Well, it's part of playing against Wade Phillips. They have so much going on at the line of scrimmage. They'll have a guy coming in looking like he's going to blitz, and Aaron wants to communicate, and he wants to change something with a hand signal, something like that. But Wade Phillips, he didn't forget. You know, Wade Phillips was the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and he went to Green Bay with the Cowboys, and they laid it on him pretty good, and he was fired on the plane ride home, and he brought it up to me this week. He said, you know, they got me fired that year.
2010 midseason. Got killed on a Sunday night at Lambeau. Second and 9. And they finally get to Rodgers. Antonio Smith, the first guy in there.
Rodgers is being forced time after time after time. He looks at his first target and then has to look away. I don't think he's thrown the ball to his first look all night, and that is a credit to Chris Harris, Bradley Roby, Aqib Talib down the field. He is stealing Aaron Rodgers' first look, and the minute he goes to number 2 or 3, it's too late.
First sack for Denver tonight. They lead the league with 27. And now Rodgers throws, and that's batted down. Well, if you haven't seen Denver play this year, and you've heard all about the defense, they're on full display tonight.
Yeah, I don't think people have talked much about the defense because all they can talk about is Peyton Manning and what's wrong with the offense. And what you've missed is that championships are won with defense. And this team has probably been the most consistent defense all season long.
Mass State a punt. With the rush on, gets it away. Fair caught at the 20-yard line by Emmanuel Sanders. 2:10 left in the third on Sunday night. 24-10 Broncos. Clay Matthews back out. And up to the 22. Hillman. So we talked about John Fox, who had a lot of success here. John Elway wanted to get to the, as they say, the next level, meaning win a Super Bowl. So he brings in Kubiak. Everybody said, that won't blend. They won't blend with Peyton. Meanwhile, Gary was ready to stay in Baltimore last year with John Harbaugh.
Yeah, they had made a decision, he and his wife, that they weren't going to pursue another head coaching job, that they were happy in Baltimore. And, you know, he'd had a couple of health issues and such. And then all of a sudden, John Elway called, and he said that changed everything.
Cutting it back up, getting a first down, Ronnie Hillman. And Matthews makes the tackle.
That's amazing. You take about 4 plays off, and Peyton Manning has them in the end zone like that. Clay Matthews comes back in, and he makes 2 tackles. So he's hurting, but he is the ringleader. He's taken over the assignment now of calling the plays, and Sam Shields was telling us that like he really didn't want to do it. Now he's running around like some kind of general out there. This is my team. You guys listen to me. Like he's crazy out there.
Final minute of the quarter. Manning slings it, caught. Wow. Demaryius Thomas on the outside. Stop. Randall was behind him. First down.
Randall, Casey Hayward, it has not mattered. This is the Demaryius Thomas, Peyton Manning combination that we have been watching over the last several years. It has been sort of non-existent, especially the big plays down the field, but it is working tonight. And I tell you, there has been so much time spent this week between Gary Kubiak and Peyton Manning. They understood there was a problem. They didn't want to give in to the fact that everybody was saying that Peyton Manning's skill sets wouldn't match Gary Kubiak's plays. But by golly, it is now.
Fruitful bye week, 24-10, Sunday Night Football, fourth quarter after this. We start the final quarter at the Green Bay 45-yard line. C.J. Anderson. About a yard. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, you alluded to Clay Matthews playing a little bit hurt on that left foot. It is spatted up in some black tape. He had come off the field in the previous drive. They looked at it, looked at the foot, the ankle, the knee. Here he is working on it in that last timeout. So playing hurt, but sticking in there, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. So valuable, obviously, calling the plays and what he does physically. And then over the middle again. They are living over the middle tonight. This time it's Virgil Green, the tight end. First down at the 11-yard line.
So what happens? You get the running game going. Now your linebackers step up. Now there's space in behind there. All of this tonight, in my opinion, has been the result of a couple of things. One, the fact that they've been able to get their running game going for the first time all year. Two, the play action is starting to work. And early in this game, even though he didn't hit all of them, Peyton proved that he could still throw the ball deep. It stretched this defense, and it's all starting to click.
So Green and Daniels have both been instrumental tonight. Hillman to the 11. You know, Chris, Peyton Manning is too classy a guy to say shut up. But you know what he's saying with his play tonight? Shut up.
Yeah, he's about ready to drop the microphone, isn't he?
He said, we said it in Detroit. I mean, every pass he throws this year is dissected like a laboratory rat.
There's the deep balls that maybe have been missing. He did hit Emmanuel Sanders in that last game against Cleveland for a long one, but the full package is working tonight.
2nd and 9 at the 11. And Peyton has to take a timeout here. Well, it's all coming together.
Well, we talked about the hybrid offense at the beginning of the game, and this is all Gary Kubiak and Mike Shanahan and all that. You know, the stretch play, and then you have the bootleg off of it when you start chasing from the backside, and Manning proving he can get out on the edge and make plays like that. But he still has the Peyton Manning stuff in here too. Change the play at the line of scrimmage, drop back, get it out of your hand quickly. And so if this grows into both of those offenses by come playoff time, and they're already knocking off the undefeated Green Bay Packers, what could it be? And that's what I can't get out of my head. And I think the amount of time that Kubiak and Peyton Manning spent getting to discuss this offense this week has really paid off.
Well, you got two very intelligent guys, and you know they know it's for the betterment of the team. Get together, let's work it out. Don't be stubborn. And Manning's thrown for 321 yards tonight. 2nd down and 9. Tip. Oh, tipped, and is it picked? No. Close. Palmer almost had the deflection. Hit the ground. 3rd and 9.
I think it was B.J. Raji who, coming back from the groin injury, showed a little vertical. It wasn't a bad vertical for a guy his size.
Manning Slings it to the outside and forced out at the 6 is C.J. Anderson. So they'll have to settle for a field goal, but a field goal, if successful, will make it a 3-possession lead.
You know, the other part of this offense, Al, we really haven't talked about is Demaryius Thomas came in averaging 11 yards per catch. Tonight, 22 yards a catch. 5 of his 7 catches, 18, 31, 47, 18, and 24 yards. So that helps a bit too.
Meanwhile, his quarterback has thrown for 326 yards, and his opposite number is thrown for 69. Chip shot field goal for McManus. 24 yards is good. Denver up again by 17. Meanwhile, from deep in the end zone, coming out, and that wasn't a particularly judicious move. Jared Abbrederis tackled by Omar Bolden. It's only out to the 13-yard line.
Well, Aaron Rodgers tonight, he hasn't been sacked but once, but we have seen throughout the course of the evening he has taken a pounding. It has just been relentless pressure, that a penalty, but time after time, and watch how many different times that it's Aaron Rodgers looking one way and then turning, trying to find a second receiver. And despite a really, really good offensive line, they just have been unable to hold up and truly protect Aaron Rodgers from taking those kinds of hits.
And on the back end, Denver's done a magnificent job in the secondary. They start this drive, and look out, and he loses the ball. It's loose in the end zone, and Green Bay comes up with it, but this is going to be a safety as Rodgers comes up with it in the end zone. But he was hit at first by DeMarcus Ware, creating the fumble. The ball was loose. It was up for grabs, and 2 points for Denver. That makes it 29-10. So DeMarcus Ware will get credit for a sack and a forced fumble, and that leads to a safety. And Denver will get the ball as they've extended their lead to 19 points, and a free kick now coming for the Packers from the 20-yard line with Sanders back at about his own 25, ready to accept the kick.
Well, Aaron Rodgers was so confident when we talked to him yesterday, and they really felt like they had some good answers for this defense. But the one thing you can never anticipate is that you have to get it out of your hand at the first look. That is too much to ask of any quarterback.
Sanders from the 24. To the 36, and back we go to the safety.
DeMarcus Ware is going to be lined up on the outside, and I get the feeling, because everybody was blocking down inside, that Richard Rodgers right there thought he had to block the inside guy, who really was not that big a threat. He should have just stayed on the guy that you knew was going to come, and that's DeMarcus Ware, and that led to that entire mess. Clearly was coverage on Richard Rodgers and not somebody in a position to blitz.
So with 12 minutes to play, Broncos begin this drive from the 37-yard line. Spinorama. Ronnie Hillman tackled by Casey Hayward after a gain of 4, 2nd and 6.
And Ronnie Hillman's been one of those guys so much better at home than he has been on the road. When he gets in this building, he can do some magical things, but it has really been, since he has gotten the running game going, 2 out of the last 3 games over 100 yards, and as a team now over 100 yards again. And all of a sudden this offense looks a little better.
Oh, they're on a slant to Demaryius Thomas. Another grab for him, another first down for him. Got inside Hayward. Again in the north, Green Bay 6-0. Meanwhile, Minnesota won today, beat Chicago, so they would only be a game back. Bears and Lions follow, and Oakland with a big win today over the Jets. So they would remain 3 games behind Denver, but looking maybe at a wild card down the line.
Yeah. Del Rio doing a pretty good job out there. We saw him in preseason, and you just felt like it was a little more of a professionally run organization at that moment.
Yes, big difference. Bowman forced out of bounds. Yeah, the last two defensive coordinators of the Denver Broncos have gotten head coaching jobs both in Oakland. Dennis Allen went there with not much success and got fired last year in the middle of the season, and they brought Del Rio in this year. Of course, Oakland has loved to go after Denver coaches. Remember, Mike Shanahan goes all the way back to being a very young coach, somewhere around the age of like 36 or 37 with the LA Raiders back in '88.
Shanahan has a lot of love for that organization.
Oh, yes, he does. Here's your subpoena. 2nd down and 7. And into traffic and incomplete. 70,000 want to see a flag, but they won't get it. Intended for Sanders, 3rd and 7.
Well, Casey Hayward's had a few good, a few bad moments, and pretty sharp here. He really is much more of a slot kind of a corner. That's where he's made a name for himself. But because of the injuries on the outside, especially to Sam Shields, he's had to shift out there. And they've just been sort of recirculating in that secondary all night long. Got Morgan Burnett back. They were excited about getting him back at safety. And then they lost 2 others.
Manning. And that's going to be picked off. That is Randall who picks it off. And he was contacted when he was on the ground. So that'll end the play right there. But a turnover, and Green Bay will get the ball back with a little less than 10 to play, and the Broncos up by 19 in Denver. Now Rodgers, bump, bang, battered and bruised, knocked down at the 18-yard line. Von Miller and Antonio Smith converge to knock him down.
Oh, that wasn't even man-to-man coverage this time. Now they just drop back into his zone, and they still can't find anybody. This has been one of the really great coverage nights I've seen from a football team. They have been all over these guys in man coverage. They shifted up, and it doesn't matter because once Aaron Rodgers has to pull it down from that first look, the pass rush has been there almost every time tonight. 3 Pro Bowlers back there.
Yeah, Miller gets credit for the sack, 9-yard sack. That's 3 sacks of Rodgers tonight. 29 on the year for Denver. You got a flag here. And that's Devontae Adams, who's been fairly silent. Meanwhile, you've got offside coming up against Denver.
Can you imagine how many sacks?
Offside. Defense, number 94, 5-yard penalty, replay. 2nd down.
An ordinary quarterback would have had tonight. And if you didn't have Aaron Rodgers dancing around back there and escaping, they might have given up 10 sacks in this game.
Well, they've got 3. Remember the night that remember Seattle got to him one night for what, 8 in the first half? But that doesn't happen very often. Meanwhile, Manning tonight has not been sacked. 2nd and 14, and they got to run the play to avoid the delay. A little slip screen there to number 44 Starks. Short gain. Barrett makes the tackle. It'll be 3rd down and 9. Time is of the essence. Rodgers just gets him up there without a huddle. 3rd and 9. Right now converting is of the essence.
They haven't jumped off sides.
Yeah. 4-man rush. And that will be a first down. Forward progress, then the ball is lost as James Jones finally makes a catch.
Are they not going to give him the progress?
Well, I think they did. I thought I saw, well, let's see what they're going to give him.
I'm not sure.
And Rodgers is going to say, wait a second. I saw one of the officials move in where forward progress was stopped.
And that's a subjective call. I disagree with this one. I thought even though he lost the ball, I thought at some point here, James Jones kind of gave up on that one.
Yeah, well, you saw one of the officials along the sideline move up there as if to indicate that was where forward progress was.
Wow. Big no call there.
Yeah, they don't give it to him.
Would have been a first.
Right. Instead, it's 4th down, and they'll have to bring in Mastay. That's what Rodgers was arguing, that originally they were going to call forward progress and a first down. So Jones's first catch is for naught. And Mastay's punt collected at the 21. And Sanders sees nothing but white shirts with yellow pants around him. 6:51 to go in the 4th quarter. 29-10 Denver on Sunday Night Football. Well, James Jones, who's had such a stellar season, makes his first catch of the night, and then instead of getting forward progress, holds onto the ball, winds up with a 2-yard gain, well short of the first down, forcing a punt, and Denver has it at its own 27-yard line. It's a 4-yard pickup, C.J. Anderson. So what do you think here, Chris?
Subjective call. You know, I mean, I get it. I would have blown the whistle here. Picked up the first down. He's going to get hit once. I wouldn't have blown it there, but now at that point there are 2 guys on him. He's gone back 8 yards. You know, who's right, who's wrong, I don't know. I would have blown the whistle.
Just never blow the whistle on me. Oh, isn't
Look
that
at
sweet?
that. There you go.
Oh.
See, I think my name got cut off the bottom of that. They had it, but they didn't have enough room because the graphic there, and then.
Yours is on the other side of the field.
Usually is.
Yep. 2nd and 5.
Backside.
And over the right side and all the way to midfield goes C.J. Anderson. Well, Manning's been great. The run game's been great. That's a gain of 18 yards.
I'll tell you this, Michael Schofield, I think, has found himself a job right here. They've been rotating the left tackle position, bringing in Tyler Palumba some. But at right tackle, Michael Schofield has been doing a nice job. Remember, Ryan Clady out there, all-star left tackle. Ty Sambrilo didn't dress in this game because of the shoulder injury. Ryan Harris moved from right tackle to left tackle. These guys have done a really nice job up front, and it looks like Gary Kubiak's offense, in my mind, for the first time this year.
Well, Gary Kubiak's offense is going to have 500 yards here in another minute or two, because right now with that 3-yard pickup, the Denver Broncos have gained 496 yards tonight.
You know, the other thing, Al, I think has been impressive is the fact that Peyton Manning didn't give up on it. You know, he really stayed committed to believing in something that he didn't have ownership of. I mean, this could have been the last year of his career, and having that decided on an offense that he was unfamiliar with, and that would have been a hard thing for a veteran player to take.
Very. 2nd and 7. Now he can milk the clock, which he does here. And it's over 500 yards in offense tonight. You know, it's an old cliche about bending and not breaking, but it really applies to the Packers, because every defensive category, 22nd against the rush, 12 against the pass, but first in points allowed coming into the game.
Big Evan Mathis in here, who's playing with a really rough boy. Look at that block. He is, once he locks on to people, he does not come off. I watched him in the game against Cleveland, and I followed him. I've seen him forever. By the way, happy birthday. He's 34 years old today.
Right.
And here's a guy that when he's in there and when he's healthy, he can make a huge difference for this team.
And the play clock goes all the way down. And that's Ronnie Hillman. You saw Anderson, the numbers with him. He has 104 yards tonight. Denver has rushed for 163 yards tonight. Over 5 yards a carry. Manning is thrown for 340.
This is a bit of a shocker, though, right? I mean, we're here, we're doing all the interviews. We had a little feel for how this was going to go. Some injuries early for the Green Bay Packers, but I think people who didn't watch this game will wake up tomorrow morning and go, really?
No, this was a beatdown. There's no question about that. I mean, it was 17-0. Going to the outside, just wants to stay in bounds, keep the clock moving down. It was 17-0, and then personal foul penalty on Bruton enabled a drive to be extended by Green Bay. They got 10 points off that, but then Denver came back, or they got 7 off that plus another field goal to make it a 7-point game. But then Denver took a 2-touchdown advantage again, got a field goal, got a safety, and now they can run the clock out.
Well, C.J. Anderson's had a nice night tonight. His 3 longest runs of the year have all come in this one, so they haven't had to totally rely on Ronnie Hillman either.
I mean, Manning is something. Oh, ball almost came loose. Manning is something. I mean, everything is like perfect. Here he is at a time when he just wants to take all the time off the clock, and every snap with 1 on the play clock.
Yeah. And pizza sales are good in town too.
Especially after midnight.
Yeah, they've changed a few laws around here. He said it's helped my pizza
here
sales.
in Denver. Yeah, look out. 2-minute warning. 29-10 Broncos on Sunday Night Football. No, see, you left the booth. You left the booth for 2 minutes, and that's you went down. You went down there, didn't you?
I did. I sent some of my people down there.
Your peeps.
I'd like to thank my cousin for making up that sign.
Oh, baby.
It's been all good. He threw his 11th interception tonight, right? And he's had 6 full seasons where he hasn't thrown 11 interceptions, but the one tonight, pretty meaningless.
Yep. So it's 4th down, and they just run the clock down as much as they can. Snap it. Or maybe not.
52 Spike! 51 Spike! 51 Spike!
We need an Omaha. All right, thank you very much. Just run it all the way down and punt it. You know, you look at Manning for the season. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass tonight. Gets a huge hand as he comes off the field. He's thrown for 340 yards. I mean, if somebody told you Peyton Manning, after the first night of November, would have on the season 7 touchdown passes and 11 interceptions, you would go, whew, and his team would be 7-0.
There we go. He probably just practices this part of the show as well. You know, he 52s in my Omaha. He threw them all out there.
Right.
Green Bay wasn't going to move. Even my cousin knew he wasn't going to snap that.
He should have punted it himself. He's doing everything else. Britton Colquitt will send it into the night air. So the Packers will fly home after the game. It's always a fun flight when you have your heads handed to you. Going back east and landing in the wee hours. And then they'll take on Carolina next week, and it will not be the battle of the unbeatens. November to remember. Peyton Manning returns to Indianapolis next week. Then he'll face his former coach John Fox when they go to Chicago November 22nd. And also it's projected he'll break Brett Favre's passing yards record that night or that day. And then, well, what do you know? Brady Manning, New England, Denver, Sunday, November 29th, and that game will be on. Let me take a look here. Hold on a second. Who's got that game? We do.
There you go.
Sunday Night Football on NBC.
It's all good. How about for Aaron Rodgers? How about for the Green Bay Packers offense? 22nd ranked passing team coming in here. Are we a bit concerned? They changed play callers. They got Devontae Adams back, and they could not hold up in protection, and they couldn't get open down the field.
Yep, 76 yards, 22 passes. Scott Tolzien is the quarterback. He's handed off a couple of times to go to the airport. Alonzo Harris with the carry. So we go back to the beginning of the game. We're talking about perceptions around the country. Oh, Green Bay's the best team in the NFC, even though Carolina's also unbeaten. Denver's lucky. It's been the defense. And now, your perception, sir?
I think that it's possible now that this hybrid offense that they stuck to, it would have been very easy for Peyton Manning to say, I'm not doing that anymore. It's not working. Gary, get me out of that offense. Let's go back to what I know. He didn't do it. He stuck with it. He believed in what John Elway was preaching. He believed in what Gary Kubiak was preaching. And after half a season, it finally showed up.
Well, you know, sometimes careers can have messy endings, and people were worried about that happening for Peyton Manning. I think at least for tonight, you put that worry aside. Maybe he will, like Elway, will ride off into some Rocky Mountain sunset. Great night for Manning, great night for Denver. They wind up with 500 yards to Green Bay's 140, and they just stopped them. Led all the way and win it by a final score of 29-10.